In December 1701, a poor cobbler named Matthew Ashby walked through the freezing mud of Aylesbury to cast his vote for the English Parliament. But when he arrived at the polls, local Tory constable William White turned him away. White claimed Ashby didn't qualify as a settled inhabitant of the borough because he hadn't contributed to the local church taxes. Ashby's vote was thrown out. Ashby took White to court, but his lawsuit hit a specific legal wall. Ashby hadn't lost any money. He wasn't physically injured, and the candidate he wanted to vote for actually won the election anyway. This creates a legal paradox. If an official violates your civic right, but you suffer no tangible damage, does the law actually owe you anything? To understand why this mattered, we have to look at the political climate. England was in the middle of a period historians called the Rage of Party, a bitter proxy war for control of Parliament between the parliamentary Whigs and the establishment Tories. The English common law at the time offered no clear help for political disputes. Tort law existed strictly to compensate people for stolen property, broken contracts, or broken bones, not abstract concepts like civic enfranchisement. Ashby's lawsuit determined whether ordinary citizens could sue government officials for violating their civic rights, or if the right to vote would be left to the arbitrary whim of local elites. Without a legal mechanism to punish officials who deny the ballot, the right to vote is effectively a suggestion. A local jury initially sided with Ashby and awarded him £5. But White appealed to the Court of Queen's Bench, where 3 out of 4 judges voted to throw the case out, arguing that without monetary loss, there was no valid lawsuit. The sole judge who disagreed was Lord Chief Justice John Holt. He issued a dissenting opinion that challenged the very nature of judicial power. Holt built his argument on a simple syllogism known in Latin as ubi jus, ibi remedium. Where there is a right, there is a remedy. If we picture a civic right as a geometric shape, Holt argued it cannot stand on its own. A corresponding legal remedy must lock into place beneath it for the right to actually exist. This disagreement triggered a jurisdictional turf war between the House of Commons and House of Lords. It escalated until the House of Commons actually imprisoned 5 other Aylesbury men who tried to file similar lawsuits. Holt's dissent prioritized the individual's legal standing over the convenience of the state, a shift that influenced how later courts viewed the limits of government authority. The battle finally reached the House of Lords, the highest court in the land. By a vote of 50 to 16, they overturned the lower court and ruled in favor of Matthew Ashby. But the actual written report produced by the House of Lords reveals a different rationale than the one Lord Chief Justice Holt proposed. This document is the Lords Committee report. It shows they didn't grant Ashby a remedy simply because his abstract right was denied. Instead, they included a specific condition. White's actions were actionable because he hindered the vote fraudulently and maliciously. This distinction protected local officials who might make an honest mistake. It only penalized targeted, malicious government overreach. The reason Holt's version of the story became the standard narrative comes down to a private court reporter named Lord Raymond. In this historical report of the case, Raymond documented Holt's initial dissent. He outlined the broad ubi just principle, but he completely omitted the necessity of malice or fraud. Raymond's notes traveled across the Atlantic, becoming the primary record for American lawyers and judges who studied the case. 19th-century American courts cited Ashby to support the idea that the judiciary could review and remedy government violations of a citizen's rights. Modern jurisprudence still cites this version of the case. But looking at the actual history reveals how fragile the broad ubi just principle can be. The reality is that a right remains inactive without a specific legal trigger. If you cannot prove that a government official acted with malice, the right to a remedy disappears, and the civic protection collapses. The history of Ashby v. White shows that the scope of a citizen's rights is defined as much by clerical errors and political maneuvering as by high-minded legal theory.